Hey, I'm Lara and this is Lily. Lily has come here to be started. She's been here for 4 weeks. And one of the things that Lily's really good at is going to the block for me to mount, and she'll stay at the block for me to mount as well. So I've had a few questions after a few people have seen her video about how do you teach your horse to stand at the block while you're mounting, or especially when they're so new to being having someone sat on them in the first place. It's a really good start, actually. It's a great way. I actually started with Lily like that because we've had saddle fitting issues because she's so tiny, and most of the saddles I have are Western saddles. They're a bit too long. And just so that I didn't put as much pressure on her back, so I wanted to be able to get on and it be a lot more comfortable for her. So what the key point to being able to teach your horse to stand at the block while you mount is that first of all you need to know how to communicate with your horse. It's pointless trying to train them anything if you don't have a good way of communicating. So Lily and I started the day she arrived, where she started learning my system, which is positive reinforcement with a slight twist. But she understood the system before I started trying to teach her something. So it's really important. It's like you trying to speak a different language to someone. How would they understand you? They wouldn't. So once she knew what good meant, which is my bridge, which is me telling her good, she understood what was right and what was wrong. Key point. So the next thing that is very, very important is your timing, and also which part you reward. And it's just one of the things that I see a lot of people go wrong with, is when they reward is why they end up with a shortened behaviour. So what I'm going to do now, I'll just move that away a little bit, is I will show you the key points. Obviously, Lily already knows how to do this, but what I will show you is the points of when it's important. So Lily knows that if I stand here, that she should come over. All I do is I click, and she knows that she needs to stand there. If I wanted her to move another step, I would just click again. She's a little bit distracted by my neighbour's big black dogs walking around over there. So she has done the right thing, obviously. Now, if you were just starting with your horse, you would reward this behaviour. You would reward the fact that they came and stood here. So initially what you would do is you would get your horse to come over to the block. So Lily just did that herself, but let's say she doesn't know how, which is what I'm trying to show you, is I would have my horse, I would have the block. Of course, you would have done your work beforehand to ensure your horse is not scared of the block. So we're going to skip that bit because that's something you need to have done beforehand, which is common sense. So what you do is you would lead your horse to the correct spot. You would then say good, if that's your bridge, and you would reward her. You then walk her away again. This is your horse who's starting from scratch. You would walk your horse to the block. You would say good, or blow your whistle, or use your clicker, preferably not a clicker, and you would reward her. You would then hop down. Sorry, I'm having a few rope issues here. You would walk your horse around, have her stand at the block, walk on Lily, good. And then you would say good. She moved, so I'll just get her to move 1 foot back. These things are very important. If you allow that one time in the beginning, it'll be something that they expect they can do later. So I put her back in position, say good, and give her a reward. So that is something you need to repeat and repeat and repeat. Your horse will eventually think, every time I go to that orange thing, in our case it's orange, every time I go over here, good, I get a biscuit. So you notice that I'm waiting good. I'm waiting until I stand up before I give her a biscuit, because this is part of it. She can't just, in the beginning, if your horse had trouble standing there, by all means reward them while you're on the ground. But because this is part of it, this is part of the behaviour, you want to start that as early as possible. So the other things I need to point out is obviously your horse needs to already be comfortable with you being in this position, and your horse needs to be comfortable and ready for you to get on, which is all of the work that you do beforehand. Like Lily, I did that, a lot of this kind of work before I get on her, to make sure that when I get on her, I'm not going to end up on the ground, because it's a good thing for both of us that this is a good experience. So make sure that you've done all the work beforehand as well, that your horse is good with this. So good. That in itself is a behaviour. Tricks and things aren't always behaviours. This is a behaviour. Standing still while I do this is a behaviour. So you need to make sure that your horse is comfortable with all of this before you start this standing at the block. So the next thing you would do is you would do this. Put your foot in the stirrup, pretend you're going to get on, say good, and give them a biscuit. This is just in stages. Put your foot in there, say good, and give them a biscuit. And the reason being that I'm doing it in these stages is everything needs to be done in stages so that you have a foundation. If you just turn everything into one behaviour where she stops, you get on, you ride off, that has no foundation. This has a foundation. Walking up to the block and saying good, standing on the block and saying good, all in sections. Putting your foot in the stirrup, good. The point is that she didn't walk away. So these are the key points about why my horses won't walk away if I'm doing this behaviour. She's just about to move. That's what happens when you work with animals, is that when you say something doesn't happen, that's when they will do it. So that's part of what you're trying to teach them, is that they stay here. So you don't just want to make it a behaviour where they turn up, you get on and you ride off. They won't learn to stand still, and for this to just be something they do. Just standing here doesn't mean you're going to get on. This is all about having longevity in your behaviours, and for them to understand, and for you to have sections in your behaviour, different steps and stages, so that you have a foundation you built on, which means you can always go back to something to correct it. So Lily moved. She is rather interested in doing things. So patience sometimes is not her thing. She's like, you've stood here for a very long time. So all I do is I walk her around, make her stand back in the position, so she wants us to get on with it, don't you? She's not quite understanding. I'm just going to make her walk around in a circle from where I am. Good. I'm going to make her stand here without moving for a little while, which she knows if I do this, it means freeze. Good. Which means she has to stand still. So now I'm just going back in my stages and rewarding her for standing still, because she's decided it's time, come on, let's get on and get on with it, because she is very interested in doing work. Such a great little horse, aren't you? By the way, Arabs aren't mad. Lily is an Arab. She's half Arab, I should say, half quarter horse, but she's definitely a great little interested horse who's loving doing everything that we've done so far. So, stages. We've got her to stand patiently. I don't want her to move. She stood just then, she stood closer, but she didn't walk away. I think that's her just trying to say, look, I am actually doing it. So I'm not going to reward it, but I'm not going to walk her around either, because she kind of half did something right. So apart from putting your foot in the stirrup, you then need to get on. Good. So again, the reason I'm doing it like this is if you've got to that stage where you're getting on your horse and they're standing at the block and they've been patient enough that you've stood there and done this, it doesn't mean you get on and you ride off. That would be deteriorating this behaviour from the beginning. So all I did was I got on, We sat still. Good. And I get off. And the time that I said good was while I was on her, if you notice that as well. That means she understands she's just actually a little bit too close for me to get my foot in. Walk on, Lily. That's better. Do gymnastics to get on. So, stages. We've gone from standing there, having patience, to having the foot in the stirrup, getting on. Good. And getting off. There are cows running all over the place over there. Lily. Yoo-hoo. Good. She's like, yep, I heard you. Yes, that's right. Next door, there's cattle running all over the place, and she's wondering what's going on over there. Tractors and cattle. Okay, back to the job. Right, these kind of things happen, so I won't edit it out. Distractions happen. The fact that she hasn't moved is fantastic. Good. So I'll simply reward her for that as well. If your horse moved off and was overexcited about what's happening next door, you would do a few circles, bring them back, make sure they're standing calm and patient again. Good. Good. Go back to the second stage. Good. Don't always do it in the same order. What I mean is, we went from standing here to this, to then getting on. If you're in the early stages, don't always make it from here on that I get on. Sometimes I'll go like this. So she has no idea what's coming next. She doesn't know what is she waiting for at this point. You don't want her to presume what it is that's happening. Good. And reward her from up here. Good. So all of this is a part of your horse just coming and standing here. Now that we've got all of that done, we walk her around again. We put her in position. Good. We get to the spot that she's meant to be. We say good. We stand up. We say good. We walk her off. If you've done this enough times and you already have your communication skills going really well, which is what you should have before you start these things, communication skills I mean, then your horse will get to a point where you can stand a couple of feet away, maybe not this far in the beginning, but I'll show you. I'll go forward a few steps so that you get the idea. Maybe if your horse is not up to this level, you might stand a bit closer. But because I'm just going to wait until the cattle have stopped running, set myself up for success rather than failure. I'll get Lily to be patient for a second, because she is impatient sometimes because she's so interested in doing things. So stand still, Lily. So I think that, okay. So I stand away from the block. I go to the block. Why is she automatically coming to the block? Good. The reason that she's automatically coming to the block, and she's being very obvious about it in case you hadn't noticed, she's like, come on, can we just do something? This is her personality. So the reason that your horse comes to the block straight away like this is because there's two things. Is one, in Lily's case, she wants to be with me because she's very interested in activity and learning. And secondly is I've just spent how long over there at that block rewarding her. So walk to the block, stand, and she comes and puts herself in position. What ends up happening, especially with a thinking horse, because some horses are more interested in these things than others, as we all know, everybody is different. what ends up happening is, I'm just going to try to get her to pause for a minute, is that Lily, for example, learnt that she loves this orange thing. Good. So much so that if I walk away sometimes, she'll go and stand at the orange thing. Because she's like, wait, the orange thing, the orange thing. Good girl. Walk your horse around again. Stay there, Lily. Stay there. I don't give a cue because the cue is me standing on the block, by the way. Good girl. Someone's a little keen to get to work, aren't you? Good. So they are the basics of how to get your horse to stand at the block. Obviously, one of your next things is to get on. Reward them for staying still. Good. Saddle pad's a little big for her. Walk on. Make sure they don't kick the block if they're not used to the block. Lily, walk on. Never been ridden in a halter before, actually, by the way. This today is right now is the first time. Walk on. Lily, walk on. Walk your horse around. Good. Go back to the block. Good. No, a bit further. Good. That's it. Just so that I can get off at the block. Good. They need to associate the block with getting on as well as getting off. Because there are some horses who maybe aren't so interested in doing work as such, is e.g. being ridden. So your horse, if your horse is one of those who doesn't want to be ridden, and I see this happen a lot with some of the ladies that come here who can't get on their horse without a block, the horses learn that when they lead them up to the when they lead them up to the block, that to them the block becomes a negative because it means they're going to be ridden. So you don't ever want it to become a negative. If your horse is one of those horses that doesn't want to be ridden and that's the only way you can get on, you need to do all of this work even more so. So you need to be standing here at the block, even put your foot in the stirrup. Good. Wave to the postie. You need to put your foot in the stirrup and pretend to get on. Good. And don't get on. That's if you have a horse who's not interested in doing work, as in ridden work. Like I said, this could become a negative for them because they predict that if you're standing at the block, you're going to get on and then they have to do work. So surprise them. Make it random, interrupted. So the reinforcement is not always the same. It's not that the block means work. So you need to put in time, which is what most people don't seem to have, but you need to put in time and ensure that your horse doesn't associate certain things with being negative. This is a big one because how many times we see that someone move their block like this to the horse and the horse goes the other way because they're not stupid. Of course, he's like, oh no. Lily, on the other hand, completely different horse. She enjoys everything that we do. She's only 4 weeks broken in. So, and she's not scared of anything either, but that's all because of the work that I've done. This is her showing impatience. We've never actually spent this long doing this without actually doing anything. So you can see the difference in the personalities is that Lily is extremely keen on work. She wants me to get on and for us to go for a ride, but you should realise we have the halter, which we haven't done at this point because her owner will be riding in a bridle, so I've had to start her in a bridle. So I hope that makes sense, everything that I've said so far. Make sure you're doing it in stages, because if you're doing it in stages, it means you have a foundation. I'm just going to ignore her for now because she's showing a little impatience. She just needs to learn to stand and know that we're not going to always do something. Good to have a horse like that, isn't it? So, stages, make sure you have your communication system really good before you even start this, because otherwise it's pointless. I should just start speaking to you in a different language. You wouldn't understand a word I was saying. Well, you need to remember that about your horse as well. Stages, standing on the block, walking to the block, standing on the block, foot in the stirrup, sitting on your horse, getting off your horse, getting on your horse, getting off your horse, going for a walk, coming back, getting back on the block. So walking back to the block and lining up with the block, also a great way to not make it a negative, because the block then also becomes the end of work as well as being the beginning of work. Good. Lily was being a bit more patient then, standing nicely. Sun's come out, it's getting a little bit warmer. It's time to fall asleep maybe. Okay, so I hope all of that made sense. If you have any questions, pop them in the chat and I will see if I can answer them for you. I'll see you on the next video. Good.